Today we're going to be covering movement analysis of a competitive shooter. All right, I think it's really important to understand the needs of the sport as well as just movement patterns in general. My name is Jimmy Prendergast. I've spent the past 20 years in strength and conditioning. I've worked with thousands of athletes, including tactical professionals, and I think it's really important taking my background in college athletics and applying it to competitive shooting. As you can see in this video, the competitive shooter is going from a static position to acceleration. So I think it's really important for competitive shooters and just overall tactical professionals to have a well-encompassed strength and conditioning plan. It should be total body in focus, and it should be also on the conditioning side, incorporating things like acceleration, deceleration, change of direction, as well as plyometrics. Lower body stability, as you can see in this video, is really important because the athlete has to decelerate sometimes on only one leg. So incorporating unilateral training in your program is really vitally important for overall lower body strength as well as deceleration. So the training system that I use when training a population like this would be the tier system created by Joe Kenn. So the tier system is comprised of 3 total body lifting sessions broken up into day 1, day 2, and day 3. Every day you're training total body. So every day you're doing a total body movement, a lower body movement, and an upper body movement. The way it's distributed throughout the week is different based on intensity. So if we're looking at day 1, so day 1 would be our tier 1 movement, would be our lower body. Our tier 2 would be our upper body. Our tier 3 would be our total body. In tier 1, the movements that are going to go into tier 1 are our squats, and any variation of that. So it's going to be your back squat variations, your front squat variations, Zercher squats, things like that. You can also have unilateral variations, so split squats, reverse lunges, any single leg pattern would also fit in the lower body tier, okay? In the lower body tier, this is usually things that we're gonna have percentages with, or we're gonna train more conjugate style where we're doing rotating exercises week to week. But that is gonna be the intent for all of tier 1, day 1, 2, and 3. For tier 2, we have our upper tier, okay? So it's either dynamic effort or our strength endurance. So what's gonna fall into that is usually our pressing or our pulling upper body movements. That could be horizontal or vertical pulls or pushes. So that would be bench variations, that would be rowing variations, that would be military press variations or pull-up variations. Dynamic effort is training with submaximal weights, so low intensity for maximum intent with basically trying to move the bar as fast as possible. That is the intent of dynamic effort, all right? We're trying to create force production with that dynamic effort tier, okay? The strength endurance end of things, the intensity is gonna be lower, but the volume is gonna be a little bit higher. So us as strength and conditioning coaches, we are, depending on the goal of the program, we are gonna choose from either a dynamic effort option for this upper tier, for this tier 2, or a lower volume strength endurance emphasis on this tier. Okay, so that is tier 2. Tier 3, usually we program more rep effort, so repeated effort for that tier. And that's going to be usually done with assistance work. Things that I like for the total body usually are kettlebell variations, landmine variations, total body in nature. That could be kettlebell swings, that could be landmine push presses, things like that would be for higher volume in that 3rd tier. So we just covered day 1 of tier 1, 2, and 3. For day 2, now it's still total body in nature, but instead of the upper body movement being tier 2, it now is tier 1. So you have upper, total, lower, okay? So now instead of either dynamic effort or strength endurance, now we're either going max effort or depending on the cycle, we would have percentages depending on what the goal is there, okay? The movements are gonna be most likely bench press or bench press variations, close grip bench, things like that. Or you could also throw in your military press and variations of that. That could be a barbell military press. That could be a multi-grip bar military press, would cover that tier 1 here, okay? For tier 2, again, same as tier 2 on day 1, but now it's total body, okay? So you have your dynamic effort, so you're trying to move the bar as fast as possible with submaximal loads, or you're doing strength endurance, which is still submaximal weights, but higher volume, okay? For the total body tier here, it's usually some sort of deadlift variation or Olympic variation for the tier 2, okay? So you could do, an example of this would be 10 sets of 1 on the minute every minute with trap bar deadlift. It could be a conventional deadlift with about 50 to 60% of your 1 rep max, trying to move it as fast as possible, okay? So that's an example of what you could do for total body tier 2. For tier 3, this is lower body repeated effort, okay? So still tier 3 here. For the repeated effort, this is usually multi-planar. So I usually like to program some sort of lateral lunge pattern in this tier 3, usually for higher repetitions. Somewhere in the rep range of 8 to 12 repetitions. So this could be a lateral lunge for this 3rd tier here for rep effort. So going into day 3. So tier 1 is going to be our total, which would be our deadlift and deadlift variations. That could be a straight bar deadlift, that could be a sumo deadlift, trap bar deadlift. Again, a lot of times this is going to be dictated by your experience level as well as the equipment that you have access to. If you have competency in Olympic lifts and you have experience with Olympic lifts, this could be hang clean, this could be power clean, this could be snatches, things like that. All of these tier 1 movements are things that you're usually going to test at the end of a cycle, either before the cycle or at the end of the cycle to determine if your program is working, okay? Moving on to tier 2. So we have our lower body tier 2, which is either dynamic effort or strength endurance. Movements here are going to be similar to day 1's lower body movements. So squat variations or unilateral variations. But the difference is we're not trying to do it as a max effort or a heavier movement. This is going to be lighter, either moving it as fast as possible or we're going lighter and more strength endurance. Okay, so that's going to be covered in this tier 2. Moving on to tier 3. This is usually where I program some sort of vertical push, usually unilateral in nature. So this could be a half kneeling military press, 1-arm half kneeling military press. This could be a standing 1-arm landmine press. Again, higher repetitions, usually in the 8 to 12 rep range. So we've covered the 3-day tier system model, okay? Now we're gonna talk about how conditioning fits within that cycle, okay? So ideally, this is day 1, that's day 2, and then the total is day 3. This would be a Monday, this would be a Wednesday, that would be a Friday, okay? On day 1, before the lower body session, this would be a good time to do your acceleration work, okay? So you do acceleration, everything up to about 10 yards, okay? Then you'd go into your total body lift for day 1. Then going into Tuesday, so you have nothing there. Tuesday could be a recovery run, like an easy zone 2 recovery run. And then that would be followed up with our day 2 lift, which would be our upper lift, upper, total, lower. We would do more of our change of direction. So more of our agility work, this could be cone drills, things like that, would be done on our day 2. Thursday could follow up with another easy zone 2 recovery run, or even just low impact conditioning. Friday would be another acceleration day. So 0 to 10 yards, sprints, done prior to our total body, total, lower, upper day. And then on our Saturday, could be more of our threshold run. That could be 800 meter repeats, that could be mile repeats, things like that. Could be done on Saturday, and then you'd have your recovery day on Sunday. All right, as you can see with the tier system, you're hitting every movement pattern every single day. Just the intensity in which we hit that movement pattern changes day to day, okay? As we're trying to balance conditioning and strength, this works really well because you have your Monday, Wednesday, Friday lift. You can plug the gaps with conditioning. On a traditional upper lower body split, we've all done that. But if it's a 5-day or 6-day a week program, our life and schedules, family, work, all those things can get in the way. And let's say it's a 5-day program and schedule gets in the way and you miss 2 of those days. That becomes a problem, especially week to week. You constantly miss the same days. Whereas tier system, let's say I miss a Friday. I've still hit total body the other 2 days. So it still meets the intent of the program, and it works really well for tactical populations, anybody with busy schedules. That's why we've gravitated towards this type of programming, because you're getting everything you need and you can balance out the stressors throughout the week.